Hello, everybody. Daniel Bloodworth here with Isla.
Hi.
And I'm here to talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Yes.
Which I am somewhat surprisingly pretty obsessed with.
Oh.
Really liking this game. I've been playing the preview build the past few days. I don't know, last week, when by the time you see this.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, before I get into all the nitty gritty of the mechanics and the crazy names of things and all this stuff, it's just really fun to play.
Oh.
Like, it's a, turn-based RPG, kind of classic style. I think, like, kind of the closest comparisons I could make would be, like, Metaphor or, like, a Final Fantasy X or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so 3D, walking around a world, but then there's also an overworld map, and you initiate combat, and then you get into turn-based battles.
Right, okay.
But it's, like, the systems that are on hand, like, I just have so much fun with that, like, I'm getting into, like, random battles, like, not because I want to grind or anything. I actually kind of don't want to grind, but just, like, enjoying playing with these systems and experimenting and seeing how things combine and all of that.
Okay.
And then also, it's just, like, really, like, creative, bonkers world, and it has sweet freaking music, and the acting is pretty good. Like, there's this one scene that I'm like the two characters are going at it, and like the one guy is like really like desperate and like
going at it mean fighting? Or?
Fighting,
okay.
yeah. Like he's kind of like losing his hope and his way, and
it's a pretty dark story.
There's like some super. It's one of those games where it's like there's super dark stuff and then like weirdly jolly stuff right alongside it.
You gotta laugh at the absurd, man.
Yeah. And this scene that I'm talking about is kind of like that, where they're like at the campfire, and he's like, I just need to find Mael, who's the other girl. They've been all split up after there's a big disaster that happened or whatever. And so most of the expedition has been wiped out.
Yeah.
And I just want to find Mael and go home. And she's like, you're going to abandon the mission? And he's like, screw the mission, right? Like,
right. They're all going to die anyway.
But it's like, and so she reminds him of like the oath that they took and all of this stuff and kind of walks him back. But like, just like the nuances and stuff and like their facial expressions, it's just like he is really like, you can tell like he is struggling to like even know whether he wants to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And you see like the disbelief like on her face, and she's like, am I hearing this right now? Kind of, And then it's what's interesting is it's like once they kind of come to like a resolution on that, and like the tension pulls out, and then they just kind of like they kind of joke at it. It's like,
oh, funny.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So it was a really nice scene. But so where the preview build kind of starts off, they skipped over all the opening prologue stuff.
Yeah.
So they even put like a tutorial in there for me that's not actually going to be in the game.
Okay. You said that it started with something like really intense.
Super intense.
Coming out of the prologue that you didn't play, so you're like, what the hell?
You wake up on the beach after all this stuff has happened. So basically, like, they also created like a story so far to like quickly recap some things.
Okay.
And so like they got to this shoreline, and there's a dude there, and they're like, you're old. And like the whole concept of this game is that this, like goddess called the Paintress, she like writes this number on this huge stone. And then, like, that number is the age. Everyone that when they hit that age, they're gonna die.
I have a question about that. Is it whenever your birthday is, you just drop dead, or does everyone at the end of that year die or something?
No, I think it's like when you hit 33.
Okay.
And so when they see this dude who's like clearly like 50 or 60, they're like, what the heck?
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
But then I guess he does something that like wipes out like pretty much the whole expedition.
Oh, so he's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a really bad freaking dude that we
just
don't
like
know
old
anything.
people in real life.
No, we don't know anything about yet. I like this one out. That's fun.
Which one?
That one.
Oh, the strip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I'll fix that later.
Anyways, so then you come across like this like whole battlefield thing, and there's this huge pile of bodies and like trigger warning or whatever, but like he actually like just sits down like in the pile of bodies and just like starts putting a gun to his head.
Oh my God. His own head?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay.
And then the second playable character, Loon, she finds him and snaps him out of it, and then that's kind of like when your journey starts and like you're trying to find the third character. So right now in this preview demo, there's 3 playable characters.
Okay.
I guess in the full game there's going to be 6.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, but yeah, so you're just like going through like these really crazy environments. Sometimes like you'll see. Yeah, that's one of the ominous things too. Is like every once in a while, like in the distance, you'll see like the stone with the 33 on it. It's like this kind of like constant reminder to you.
And that's where you're headed, right? You're trying to like
you're trying.
Find and
that's
kill
where
God,
the expedition
basically.
is trying to get to take out the paintress.
Yeah, the paintress.
But it's interesting because I guess they come from this like island where civilization still is, and they've been separated from the continent. So only the expeditions go out to the continent, and so there's some things that they know, but there's a lot that they don't, and they don't like. There's a lot of things about the world that they're trying to like figure out as they're going on. And so like the enemies that you fight generally are like these like golem-looking things. They call them the Nevron.
Okay.
But what's interesting is there's like every once in a while, you'll come across a Nevron that isn't hostile. And so like there's this one where there's like he's white and he's got like this big torch or whatever, and he's just kind of sitting there and he talks to you and stuff, and then he wants a light for the torch. And so then you kind of go a little further in the level, you find some resin, and then you light the torch for him. And then I found another one a little bit later on where there's this really crazy environment called Flying Waters.
Cool.
And it looks like you're underwater. Like the lighting is like that, and there's like whales and stuff and mines. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like you're walking through water. And there's coral and sea and kelp and all this stuff, and it's just this crazy environment. And one of the enemy types there are these guys that have these like mines on a chain, and they'll swing them at you like a ball and chain. And one of the things that you can do in combat when you you can do this at any time, but a lot of times it helps to do it like right when you start a fight, is before you get into using your turns, you can use some of your action points to free aim. So you can like take your gun and like point it at the enemies and like target their weak points.
Oh, weird.
And so like with these guys with the mines,
pre-battle.
You're in the battle already. You use your gun to initiate battles though. So like, if you shoot at a guy before, then you kind of get first strike.
Right. Talk to me about the battle system.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in it already. So you have the free aim thing. And so there's guys that will have like pretty clear weak points, and then there's guys like with these mines where like if you shoot the mine, then it explodes, and it hits not just him, but it hits the other guys as well.
That's good.
And then there are all of these basically like kind of real time kind of elements, kind of like a Mario RPG kind of thing.
Sure. When
you're in combat. So a lot of your skills will have like little QTEs that pop up.
Okay.
And when you first start, it's like, oh, this is fast. But they have a really good rhythm to it, so where it's like you start to like get into the flow. And so if you just attack, there's nothing like that. You click attack and then they'll attack.
Okay.
But a regular attack will build up your action points, which you use to use your skills.
Okay.
And then your skills will a lot of times will have the QTE thing on them. And then like a lot of them are different, like fire skills and elemental, like ice and earth and all of that. But then you also, on the back end of that, when you're getting attacked, you have like dodges and parries that you can do. Mm-hmm. So dodge, you can just like get out of the way when a guy's attacking you, and then a parry, you can block it. And then you can also, like, if you get it perfect, like you can counter, and the counters are like really strong. So it's like one of those things where like, but it's like a lot of it is like getting that timing down, and that's one of those things where it's like I was just like,
is it pretty tough?
It can be, yeah.
Okay.
And there's like me, like I will find the guy to beat my head against the wall.
Yeah.
So there was one of those guys in this that was like totally optional, off on this little side path. Wasn't even guarding anything particularly special, I don't think. But because I was just like wiping out like a lot of the normal enemies without feeling like I was like digging into the systems that much yet. I was like, okay, I can really like mess with this guy because it was like checkpoint was right there.
Right.
And keep like practicing the parries and stuff like that. But the thing with him was like he was so strong there was like if I got hit at all by this dude,
Just
like
wipe
that
you.
person went down.
Oh,
So it was
no.
like you only and at that point I had like one revive item.
Does it have do you just earn skills by leveling up, or does it have like a materia dress spheres kind of like swappable?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things going on there. But what I want let me finish with
Okay.
the parry and stuff first. So so with that guy, and this is true of a lot of other enemies as well, like there's just a lot of different patterns. Like one enemy will have sometimes like 2 or 3 different kinds of things. And so with that guy, it was like he'd have a regular attack, and then it'd be like he attacks quickly, and then you got to just like really just like hit it. And there was another one where he attacks slowly, and so you had to like wait for that like slow attack to come in. So it's funny because there's a point when I was like, I was able to get like the quick attack down and the slow attack down, but I kept screwing up on the regular attack.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it won't just be one thing. So like with him, he would like shoot a spear out and then he would take it back and then he would slap you with it. And like I would always like miss that second one.
Right.
Sometimes
so you really
guys,
have to read their
yeah, you really have to
moves.
learn how to read their movements
Okay.
and stuff. And like I even asked them, is like, you guys gonna have like any kind of like parry window kind of things? Because like they do have that like as part of the difficulty options, but there's
Yeah.
not something separate from the difficulty.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you can make the game easier and the parry window will be bigger, but you can't just like make the parry window bigger on its own.
It's nice. I appreciate the option to do that sometimes, to do it on its own.
Yeah, I hope they would do something with that. But I'm also like split because like okay, I had a really hard time with that dude.
Yeah.
But then like now that I've like done some other bosses and stuff, it's like, oh, okay, it's okay to fail sometimes, right? Like
right.
you shouldn't have to like
Yeah, they don't
perfect
usually
every
one
time.
shot you if you
Right.
don't get it. Yeah.
And you get really rewarded for it too. So like when you counter, you get a bunch of action points, and
Oh,
then
okay.
you can use more of your skills. Because typically, like with the skills that I've had, it's like you've got to like probably like 2 or 3 that you can use right off the bat that are like 3 or 4 points. But like if you use your gun, that uses one of your action points. So that's like the trade-off. It's like okay, I can hit this guy's weak point with the gun, or I can use one of my skills right off the bat, or I can build things up. But yeah, so the skills that you get them while when you level up. So you have stat points that you assign, kind of like Dark Souls, where it's like, okay, I got 3 points, and I can put them into like 5 different stats, like
Okay.
luck for crit and like defense and speed and normal stuff like that. And then there's each character has their own skill tree, to where like, okay, you go down this path and you can get these skills, and like the higher you get, the more points it takes to unlock a new skill. And then you just assign whichever skills you want. You can have like 6
Okay.
assigned to a character at a time.
That's cool.
But one thing that's really nice is that there's a couple of different layers to your skills, and each character has different mechanics. So Gustav, the bearded guy, he has this thing called overcharge, where he's got a prosthetic arm that builds up charge
Yeah.
as you're fighting.
Cool.
And then you also have a skill that like when you attack with it, then it like basically amplifies how much charge, like you get a lot more charge from using that attack. So it just like allows you to max up your overcharge. So your overcharge goes up to 10, and then when you use your overcharge, the power of that is just based on like how high are you on it, 1 to 10. And that's like a lightning based attack. And then the kind of like the mage, if you will, Loon, she has this thing called stains. And so when you cast an elemental spell with her, it'll put a stain. So she's got like 4 stain slots.
Okay.
And so like if you cast fire, you'll get a red stain. If you cast ice, you'll get a blue stain. But then so when you use the skill, it will, if you have stains, the right kind of stains, then it will actually augment that skill. So like, for instance, if I use an ice spell, then I get a blue stain, and then I have like 2 blue stains. Then when I use my fire spell, it will be stronger because I'm consuming those stains. So
Sure,
it kind of like,
sure.
it puts you in this thing of like where you're thinking about your skills in like an order, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then Mael, she's like a fencer, and she has stances.
Oh, cool.
And so she has an offensive stance where she does more damage, but she also takes more damage.
Sure.
And then she has like a defensive stance where she's taking less damage, and then I think she's also like gaining more action points for like dodging and parrying. And then there's a third one called the virtuose stance, and it's purple. And that is one you kind of have to like work your way into. It's a little bit harder. Like it does a lot of damage, but you have to like earn it. So basically,
within the battle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so basically, like I have a skill that if I use that skill on an enemy that's burning, so somebody else has had to like cast fire on that enemy, they're burning, and then I use that skill, then it puts it into virtuous stance.
Cool. Okay. So there's a lot of synergies.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things like that where it's these back and forths, and like similarly, like I've got a skill with Gustav to where like if somebody's burning, I can heal. Like I can basically vampire from that attack.
Okay.
And so so there's a lot of these things to play with the back and forth.
And with 6 characters, there's probably all kinds of stuff that you can mix.
Yeah.
How many in the party? Is it always 3?
I think you can probably only do 3 at a time.
Okay.
But there are only 3 in the demo, so I can't say 100% sure.
I think from the footage, I think there was just 3, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I think there's probably just 3. What other things are there? Okay, and then on top, so that's all like the stuff that's happening in battle itself. But then you also get these things called that you equip to each character called Pictos. And so each character has 3 Pictos slots.
Okay.
And so Pictos, they do all of these different things that are actually pretty relevant and pretty meaningful. So like there's one that will like, it will initiate a burn on enemies when you get a critical attack.
Sure.
There's one where it will put a mark on an enemy when you shoot it. And so the next character that hits when it's marked does more damage. You have one where it's like you get a defensive shell automatically comes up when you get below 50% health.
A classic.
Yeah. Another one where you gain action points when you dodge. And there's lots of stuff like that. And so you've got 3 slots to put these things in, and you find them like just like wandering around the world. You find like an item, and then there's a new Picto.
Yeah.
Or you defeat a certain enemy, and you get another Picto or whatever. But
and
then
you can put them on anybody.
You can put them on anybody.
Okay.
But then, if you have a Picto equipped for like 4 battles, then that unlocks its Lumina.
Okay.
And so then anybody can equip that ability as long as they have enough Lumina points.
So you like learn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of like job learning in a little bit.
Yeah.
So
or like in Final Fantasy Remake, you like get the sword ability and
Right. Yeah. So for like the dodge one where you get AP from dodge, it's like, okay, I've got one guy that has that equipped as a Picto, and then because it's only 1 Lumina point, my other 2 characters can have it as well once it's learned.
That's cool.
And then the other difference is that the Pictos also come with stat boosts.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of want to like play with that and figure out like, okay, how am I building this character's stats? And then which Pictos do I equip? Not just based on the ability that they give you, but also the stats that they're boosting. So if like I'm going for crit on this character, then I want something that's going to be a crit boost too.
That's cool.
So I'm like, I feel like I'm like really getting in the weeds.
I know. I'm like, this game sounds technical.
But that's the thing, though. It's like
randomly.
That's what makes the turn-based combat system interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like that you have a lot of things to play with and ways to grow your characters.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty is what makes a game like that fun, for sure.
Yeah. But there's like, there's been some interesting like little exploration bits as well. Like I said, like
the world design looks crazy.
The world design is crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that there is an overworld map is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just like classic Final Fantasy styles. Like you're a big guy walking next to trees.
Yeah, it looked cute.
Stuff.
Yeah, I liked it from the last preview that they showed.
And there you can fight guys on the overworld, and then there is.
Does it take you into a battle, or is it?
Yeah, it takes you into a battle. And there's also a whole camping mechanic.
Oh
so
my
at any
God.
time you can just like push down on the D-pad when you're in the overworld to open up camp. And that's where I got that scene that I told you about with them that back and forth.
And they talk and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, but while you're in camp, you can also just like check in with your party members. There's like a music box there.
Do you cook?
I haven't gotten to any kind of cooking yet, but I wouldn't be surprised
Do you fish?
if you do. You can also have him sit down and like write in his journal and like
fun.
Talk about what they've come across so far.
I always love like the Arthur Morgan journals, you know? Like love it.
So and then there's a little bit of like Souls inspired stuff in there. So instead of bonfires, you have flagpoles.
Okay.
That the previous expeditions have set up.
Oh yeah, right, cool.
So that'll
be interesting because then they might run out. Because
maybe fewer as you get later in the game. Yeah.
People don't make it as far. I don't know.
Yeah, and you also come across journals from the previous expeditions. So like the first one you find is from like Expedition 81.
Dude.
So this stuff has been going on for 50 years.
Yeah.
And like the highest
Area
one I saw on the
X,
menu was like 84.
Okay.
But yeah, so with the flagpoles, it works a lot like a bonfire. So it's like you can level up and get your skill points there, and then you also like refill your party's health and reset the enemies.
Okay.
So you can kind of grind it a little bit that way. It's like, okay, just go do a flagpole and then go like fight some more dudes. If you're like really close to leveling up or something.
Did it seem like grinding would be necessary in this game, or
not yet? Not so far.
Okay.
And then the other thing is that you actually do have flasks, like Estus flasks.
Okay.
So you can't use them in combat, but
you just use them to get crunk.
Well,
at camp.
No, but like if like you're basically like when you take a swig of your flask, your whole party goes back to full health.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started with one, and then I did like this thing. There were like these kind of like treasure chesty things where like you have to like find like 3 weak points, and you shoot the weak points, and then the thing opens. And the first one of those that I got had like a second flask charge.
Okay,
it's like,
cool.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah,
that was worth it.
Worth it.
And then there are also flasks that you use in combat that are like. I know, there's a healing one, there's a revive one, and there is a action point one. So you can like use somebody's turn to like give somebody else action points.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And then what else? A lot of the other stuff is just like craziness and like I said, really good music. There's been like actually a lot of variety in the music and like battle themes and stuff that I've gone through so far. Some of the like character stuff is crazy because like in the underwater zone we come up to this big weird door and we open the door and we're in this like manor. It's just called the manor, and it's this huge palatial place, like gold walls and everything, and we're like looking around, and then that's where we find Mael. She's just like in one of the rooms
funny,
hanging out, and then you start talking to her for a bit. And then you turn around, and then like this zombie guy like appears in the doorway with a giant hole in his face.
Oh.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's the curator. He's been helping me with my pictos." And I'm like, "What? This guy's our buddy now?"
He's a friend?
Like,
love a guy with no face.
And then he teaches you like do like a little training fight with him, and he teaches you like another action thing in the combat where like there's some attacks that you have to jump over.
Oh.
And so, but you can also like you have the whole party jump and then counterattack in the air.
Cool.
And so that's pretty fun. So
they're pretty active, these battles.
Yeah, they're very active. It's a really good rhythm, and that's what I think is like I like actually doing combat in this game. But once we got done with that tutorial, then we're like, it's like, oh, you're going to come along with us? Okay, we'll see you at camp. And so I think you can just, I haven't camped since that, but I think you can probably go to the curator and do like training battles or something.
I see, okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what.
Cool.
And then there is...
like Withers from Baldur's Gate 3.
And then when we came outside, there is this guy called a Gestrel. And he looked like a little guy with a paintbrush coming out of his head. And he was like a merchant. And he's from this Gestrel village, and they're like, we gotta move on. We can't get sidetracked. And it's like, well, if you come to the Gestrel village, we can find you a way to get across the ocean to get where you need to go. And the Gestrels apparently all speak French.
Yeah.
Like, you just like they're just in French with subtitles.
Is everyone speaking French in this? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
But they are.
Oh, okay.
But Ben Starr's in it. Andy Serkis
Yeah,
is in it.
yeah. If it's a video game, Ben
I'm
Starr's
curious
in it.
if you are playing in French, do the gestures speak a different language?
Ooh.
That I don't know. But what's funny about him, because like he's generally like just a regular merchant, but you can challenge the merchants to a one-on-one fight.
Okay.
You pick one of your party members to fight this dude, and then when you beat it, then you have access to their secret inventory.
That's cool. That's neat. Are they hard?
He was, he took a while to
Okay.
like, I don't know if I would say hard, but like it was a longer fight. It took a while to get him down. I did come across a hard fight with a mime, and this dude, and it was funny because it was like he was doing like mime hammers and stuff against you, and so it's like you kind of see just like sort of like invisible like cloaked hammer because it's not really there because it's a mime, but it still does damage to you.
Yeah.
But this dude had like some kind of shielding on him, so that like when I was attacking him, I was doing like no damage, but like over time, like you started to like see like this like glow, like these cracks showing up in him, and eventually we like broke its defense.
Like
and
the
then
crystal
we could start,
guys in Elden Ring.
Right. And then we could start doing real damage. And I get through this whole fight, and like then the reward is like a new hairstyle.
So you can change your cosmetics.
Yeah, there's clothes and hairstyles and stuff for each character.
Okay. Is there romance that you know of?
I don't think, because the thing is there's not like a you character.
Sure,
you can
just
swap
all of
between them at any time, or
right,
just like click the left stick to change who you're walking around with.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's some like little platforming stuff. There's like a grapple thing that you can use to get at things, and you can climb things. Some other like really freaky big optional monster I fought like just swallowed Gustav during the fight. And like he had spit him out once in a while, but like never long enough for him to be like part of my party. So I had to like fight that thing essentially with two characters. And then the last boss fight, the first time I did it, I was a little thrown off because it was doing like this like jump attack thing. And because I had done the jump tutorial and I had fought some other guys that were doing jump attacks I had to jump over, I was like misreading it to things like, oh, I have to jump when he lands.
Right.
And like, no, that wasn't it. So I like totally botched that fight the first time around. And I realized oh, there's an icon that they show when you're supposed to jump and it's not popping up. So like, I probably just need to parry. And then sure enough, like I started parrying that dude's jump attacks. And he's like, I think it's like 3 hits. It's like boom, boom, boom kind of thing. And you've got to get all 3 of them to be able to actually counter.
Jeez.
But then like I finished that dude off with a counter, so that was pretty sweet. But then we have this cutscene towards like, I think he was just trying to protect the flowers because we had picked this rose or whatever, and he was like spawning flowers during the fight that were like shielding him and stuff.
Huh.
And then somebody else was like, yeah, he looked like there's something about him that feels familiar. And so there's stuff going on with these golem guys.
Yeah, it seems like something's up with like
there's a lot of little mysteries going on in this game.
Imagination and creativity and like the past and time and yeah. Seems interesting.
So anyways, obsessed. I can't believe I have to wait 2 months to play the rest of this game because I just want to get back into it right now.
Oh, bummer.
Really, like, a lot happier with it even than I expected. Before, I was like, oh, that looks cool.
Everyone's been really jazzed about it. I'm glad to hear that it's shaping up like that. You're really pleased. So that's good.
And like, there are some like little things, some other little things that I noticed were like, and it could just be final polish tuning stuff. Is like sometimes I like felt like their lip sync wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
But there's like it's like just a team of like 30 or 40 people.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's
I
like
remember that.
Basically,
from the,
an indie team like doing this thing that's like
it's kind of nuts how
you're like competing with Final Fantasy with this thing right now. With like what I'm seeing so far,
it looks incredible, and like the mechanics sound very crunchy, which is good in a good way.
Yeah, the only thing like I wonder about on the battle mechanics thing is like a lot of it is like really interesting and engaging because I'm figuring it all out.
Right.
Like I wonder what the long term side of
Once
that
you
is.
know how
like,
to do it,
yeah, I was like, am I
does
just
it
gonna be
get
like
boring?
repeating the same patterns and things like that?
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not either. I sent a couple of questions into them because I had asked if there was going to be any kind of bestiary or scan mode or something to like identify weaknesses, and they're like, no, we just want people to figure them out, like use some logic, like if you're underwater, the enemies are probably weak against lightning and that kind of thing.
Right.
And then there also isn't like a whole lot of like lore stuff in the menus. Like you know how Metaphor has like just pages and pages of crap for you to read?
Yeah.
Which is
I never
like
read it,
good and
so,
bad at the same time, right?
I'm like, just tell the story. Just put the shit in the story.
It's like
you know?
there's not any of that kind of thing.
Good.
There is the journals that you pick up from the older expeditions, and that's actually kind of a cool thing because like Gustav is a little bit of a geek about it. It's like oh, this is like from Expedition 68 or whatever, and like tells the whole story because like there's something about this place where like the chroma is messed up, and there's like a lot of lore behind the paintress of like oh, like your soul is essentially like a paint.
Huh.
And so but one of the effects of that is like the bodies are just there. They're like stone. They're just like you just keep coming across bodies of the previous expeditions.
Heavens.
And anyways, but yeah, there's not like a bunch of lore entries to go back and explain that stuff or like catch you up on where the story has been so far. So you probably want to like keep in it. Like if you're prone to forgetting like what happens in a video game. But there are things that bring up the tutorial stuff. So you can at least go back and like refresh up on the mechanics.
That's good.
But April 24th, PC, Xbox, PS5, day one on Game Pass.
Oh.
Or just $50.
$50?
Yeah.
Okay, so that maybe implies that it's short.
I don't think it's super short, but I don't think I've seen like a full, like how long it is. They said that this was 3 or 4 hours for the preview build, and I spent 6, but that's me.
Yeah, it's you, yeah.
Yeah. Because
Cool.
I fought that dude 100 times until I got the parry timing down.
$50, hey, not bad.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So there it is. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Hope you enjoyed that. Please consider checking out more of our stuff. Check out more of our previews on our weekly podcast. And we are Easy Allies, and you can support us at patreon.com/Easy Allies if you like what you see. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Putain! Damn, Maya, what was that?
It felt familiar somehow.
Gustav, we won't understand what's going on if we kill everything that moves.